Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. A 17-year-old boy allegedly lured two of his friends into his home, where he deliberately shot both of them in the head as part of a plan to murder them because he wanted to commit a homicide.
Today in the case of a Friendswood teenager accused of shooting two people, killing one of them. And according to court documents, the teen telling police he's wanted to commit homicide for a long time.
Court documents also reveal the suspect claims his mother bought the gun he used. And today we're hearing from the suspect's family for the very first time. Jason Miles live from Friendswood with the latest. Jason.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, I got a statement from the family's attorney this afternoon. It says on behalf of suspect Connor Hilton's parents that they consider this a devastating situation. They're also asking for prayers for everyone involved, especially the victims' families. And court documents suggest those victims may have been lured to the suspect's home. Friendswood High School students, like the entire community, are still reeling from weekend violence that left one teenager dead and another critically injured.
You see it everywhere on social media, on news articles. Everyone's talking about it.
Senior Alex Liaviondo says he knew victim Ethan Riley for years. This is a photo of the 18-year-old from a GoFundMe page set up to help pay for funeral expenses.
I have him in my English class, and I'm just going to look around. It's just going to be an empty seat. I don't think I'm ready for that.
Friendswood police say Riley was fatally shot last Saturday by 17-year-old Connor Hilton at his family's home here on LaSalle Street.
The allegation contained in that warrant is the offense of murder.
This is Hilton during his initial court appearances for allegedly killing Riley and critically injuring another teenager.
So we acknowledge the fact that this is a very serious case.
Hilton, who appears to get emotional during the hearing, told investigators he wanted to commit homicide for a long time. That's part of what's detailed in court documents in which police say Hilton also stated that he convinced his mother to buy him the gun, called two victims to his home, and was showing off the weapon when he shot them in the head. According to court documents, another friend who was in a bathroom reported Hilton saying, quote, "What have I done?"
It's very tragic.
Hilton's attorney, J.L. Carpenter, included this photo of the young man with a statement today and disputes the allegation that his mother bought him a gun, adding that the Hilton family thanks everyone who has reached out, including all who sent positive comments about Connor's character and good nature in general. Again, the Hilton family also sharing condolences in their statement. You can read it in full on khou.com. Meantime, Hilton is being held currently without bond and is due back in court in February, although his attorney does plan to file a motion seeking that a bond be set. Reporting live from Friendswood, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
Now, in this alleged incident that took place in Friendswood, Texas, 17-year-old Connor Hilton allegedly invited two friends to come to his home, 18-year-old Ethan Riley and 19-year-old Benjamin Billick, and they also invited a third friend to come hang out with him a couple of days before Christmas. Now, as these three boys were coming into the home of Connor Hilton allegedly pulled out a firearm that his mother allegedly got for him and used it to shoot Ethan Riley and Benjamin Billick in the head, taking the life of 18-year-old Ethan Riley and putting Benjamin Billick in the hospital in critical condition. Now, after seeing the two friends winding up getting shot in the head, a third individual who was invited to the home raced into a bathroom to hide and picked up his cell phone to dial 911. And as he was contacting law enforcement to report the homicide he had witnessed, he overheard Connor Hilton allegedly saying, "What have I done?" Now, as police arrested 17-year-old Connor Hilton allegedly for the murder of Ethan Riley and the attempted murder of Benjamin Billick, the police charged him with the murder of one friend and the attempted murder of another. Now, the police in Friendswood, Texas, see this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior Connor Hilton participated in, it fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. Now, when I look at Connor Hilton's alleged actions, they mirror that of Ethan Crumbley, a teenager who allegedly came to school to participate in a mass shooting and was enabled to participate in that mass shooting by his parents, who also went out here and bought him a firearm and also staged an alleged distraction to allow him to participate in that shooting. And this entire case is one that's quite troubling because it shows me a disturbing trend that is starting with these younger beta males of looking to want to participate in a murder, which is what Connor Hilton allegedly wanted to do. He wanted to participate in a homicide and decided that he wanted to do this to his friends. Now, the reason I believe that Connor Hilton wanted to participate in this homicide is because of the dysfunctional way he was raised by his mother, who didn't teach him about boundaries and didn't teach him that, as related to boundaries, he does not have a right to go out here and do harm to anyone out here. Now, the big problem with Connor Hilton is he never learned the biblical principle of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And under that principle, what you want to do is treat people the way you want to be treated. Unfortunately, because Connor Hilton is one of these beta males, he lives in a rose-colored reality, and he doesn't want to treat people like he wants to be treated. No, because he's disconnected and detached from our reality and lives in a rose-colored space where it looks like our world, but everything is completely distorted. What Connor Hilton wanted to do was he wanted to take a person's life, and this was his personal goal because he was living in this rose-colored reality where he was detached from people and basically saw people as objects. And because he saw people as objects in his rose-colored reality, he believed that he was in a superior space, and because he was in a superior space, he believed that he had the right to participate in this goal of participating in a homicide, a goal that should have been one that his parents should have been alarmed about, because when you have a boy at a young age talking about wanting to participate in a homicide as a life goal, this is where parents are supposed to step in and have an intervention with their son and let them know where the line is supposed to be drawn regarding their actions, because no one in our society has a right to take anybody's life. Nobody in our society has a right to willfully and intentionally believe someone's life should be taken by another individual. No one in our society should be thinking about this, especially a minor child who is 17 years old. No, that's where parents are supposed to step in and let this boy understand that it's not your right to take anybody's life, because it's just not something that you should want to do. Moreover, you shouldn't want to take anybody's life because your life has value to you, so you should value the lives of others, and that's why you don't have a right to take anybody's life, because the Bible says, "Thou shalt not murder," and murder is not something people should want to do, because life is precious to the Most High, because He blesses us with it, and life is precious as related to this world. So we shouldn't be wanting to take anybody's life, but Connor Hilton believed that he wanted to take people's lives because he wasn't living in our reality. And as he wasn't living in our reality, he wanted to go out here and do harm to people who he saw as objects. And what's really troubling is that his friends didn't understand how detached he was from reality and detached from people in that reality. And instead of seeing people who he had hung out with as friends a few days before Christmas, what he saw them was as objects, and he wanted to give himself a present as related to his goals by taking the lives of his friends. And that just shows how much of a monster Connor Hilton possibly was, because here we are a couple of days before Christmas, December 23rd, a time when people are thinking about giving and sharing at Christmas. And this young man was thinking about taking the lives of people close to him, and thinking that this was something to accomplish, and thinking that this was something that he needed to do. And sadly, as he took the lives of one of his friends, Ethan Riley, and then put another friend, Benjamin Billick, in the hospital, he realized that he had participated in a horrific act of violence. Sadly, too little too late, because he was so caught up in his rose-colored fantasy of taking somebody's life that the whole idea of consequences didn't dawn on him until it was basically too late. Because after he committed the crime, that's when he came out of the rose-colored reality into the real world. And sadly, as he came into the real world, where he had basically destroyed the lives of 3 of his friends, 2 of them by shooting them, the other by psychologically traumatizing him for the rest of his life, that's when he woke up and saw the reality of the delusion he wanted to participate in. And as he came out of that rose-colored fantasy into reality and saw the actions he had done to real people, that's where he was really realizing that he had basically taken somebody's life. But by that time, he didn't realize that he not only destroyed the lives of his 3 friends, he had basically destroyed his own life as related to his alleged actions, because instead of being a 17-year-old who was looking forward to things like prom and graduation, here's a guy who wasn't even old enough to vote, drink, or even rent a car. And instead of him looking forward to a future where he could be free to do whatever he wanted, he is now going to possibly be dealing with a future where he will be taken into the Texas criminal justice system, and he will be put under the authority of the COs. And as he's put under the authority of the COs, he is going to have to deal with the social pecking order of Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. And as he has to deal with the social order of Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, he's going to be in a place where he's going to have to deal with a dark reality where he will be at the bottom of the pecking order, and he will be traded for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, off-brand lemon cookies, off-brand Oreo cookies, honey buns, peppermint balls, Kit Kat candy bars, York peppermint patties, packets of soy sauce, packets of sriracha sauce, snack pack puddings, all of the parts of the commissary. And as those inmates are basically beating him down, turning him out, and spit roasting him, and Mr. Sprinkles is spraying the special sauce all over his face and his backside, Connor Hilton will realize what he threw away when he wanted to go out here and participate in the homicide he had thought about for a long time. I mean, he thought about committing this homicide for an extended period of time, and now that he's participated in committing this felony, he's basically gone from being a kid with his whole life ahead of him to a man who's going to be miserable for the rest of his life, as an inmate for the rest of his life, because inviting the friends into the home and looking to murder them with malice aforethought. That's first-degree murder, and he's basically possibly looking at life in prison as a minimum with no parole, and possibly, because Texas is a death penalty state, I believe, he may wind up becoming an individual who's eligible for the death penalty. So he wanted to commit a homicide for a long time, and wanted to do this because there was no family to give him an intervention to let him know that it is not his right to take anybody's life, and to also look to go out here and get this boy the counseling he needs. Because if you've got a boy out here talking about taking people's lives, then there's definitely something wrong with him. But sadly, this boy wound up on the road to becoming a man in crisis because of the dysfunctional way he was raised by his mother, who encouraged and enabled his behavior if she allegedly bought him this gun. Because any mother who loves her son, the first question she's going to ask when she hears her boy talking about homicide is, why do you want a gun, and why do you want to take somebody's life? And then after they ask those questions and get the usual goofy answers from a child like this, what they're going to say to their son is, it's not your right to take anybody's life, and would you like somebody to want to take your life? I mean, this is the kind of thing that a parent goes out here and steps in and checks their son's behavior. But there's got to be something wrong with these parents, because, again, this is the second parent I have heard of going out here to buy their child a firearm. And it troubles me to hear that a parent bought a child a firearm. I mean, I know that it's just some of these people think, oh, I can buy my kid a gun. But if your child is sitting here talking about participating in a homicide, they are a child in crisis. They need an intervention. They need somebody to look out for them, because this child is participating in depraved behavior that is clearly showing that they have indifference to life. I mean, this is an evil child if I've ever saw one. And what's really sad is the parents sitting there and going along with this as related to alleged reports. I mean, I find it troubling, but it shows me a dark turn for the man crisis, where we're seeing not only an increase in frequency of these kind of violent incidents, but we're also seeing more depraved indifference to life, because these boys are not really taught how to be men, how to regard human life, how to see other people's rights and other people's freedoms as something they need to respect. I mean, that's what happens when you have a child who doesn't understand boundaries. They don't understand that they live in a world of other people, and as they live in a rose-colored reality, they believe people are objects that they can go out here and destroy because they just want to. And again, this is the type of sociopathic upbringing that beta males have, because in a beta male's mind, people are not other people like him. No, they are objects to fit into his smooth world, and part of Connor Hilton's smooth world was to participate in this homicide, and he didn't get to experience the reality of it until he realized those two of his friends were on the floor dead, and one of them basically dead, and the other one with almost about to lose his life. And that's when reality was the only time that it set in, because nobody popped this boy's bubble and let him know about life in this real world. And now that he's experiencing life in this real world, things are going to get really hard for him inside of the penitentiary system. And this is one of those stories where we see the textbook example of how a boy grows up to become a man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to young males like this becoming dysfunctional and believing these distorted and dysfunctional views and ideas, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And in that book, I go in depth on all of the reasons that these beta males wind up on this road to participating in this kind of violence in that book. And it will show you why guys like this are motivated to participate in the violence they participate in. And if you would like to see me make more videos about men in crisis or men's issues, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.